Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, YouTubers. This is Jerry Diamond with How to Get Out of Babylon, bringing you Lights Out. All right, Chapter 57, Part 2, Deuce. This is the Wilson County Sheriff's Department. Put your weapons out, put down your weapons and come out into the open. You will not be harmed, Rob's voice called out. The answer was another round of rifle fire. This one didn't last as long. A minute later, Rob yelled again. You boys can sit over there and shoot up all your ammo if you want, but we're not going anywhere. Why don't you make it easy on yourselves and surrender? A short two-word sentence punctuated by a few shots was the answer. The only answer proffered by the group, who sounded like they were positioned right in front of where Mark and Roman were when the shooting started. Mark's breathing was now close to normal. He tapped Roman on the shoulder. The observation post is right across the pipeline from these guys, he whispered. That's probably why they couldn't answer. These guys were probably taking a break right on top of them or something. Let's quietly move on down another couple 100 yards, and then we can sneak across and work our way back up the other side. Roman nodded his head and gestured for Mark to lead the way. It was excruciatingly slow to move without making any noise. As they picked their way through the thicket, shots occasionally rang out from each side. Mark was pretty sure that only a couple of the guys on Rob's response team had any kind of night-capable sighting devices on their rifles. He doubted if these MZBs, or whatever they were, had any. The two sides could shoot thousands of rounds at each other, and they would at most score an occasional lucky hit. They needed to find a way to inflict enough damage on these troublemakers to make them want to give up without putting themselves in too much danger. Mark's mind was in jackrabbit mode, while his body moved at turtle speed. He wondered how many men and rifles the MZBs had. He knew Rob had almost 30, and the report said there were 30 or 40 in this group. Even if he used the high side numbers, he didn't know how 70 rifles could make that much noise. It sounded more like 700 to him, but that was impossible. The observer could have underestimated, but not by that much. Perhaps there was double what she said. No, more than that, surely. He felt a tap on his back. Mark, that's 350 steps, Roman said softly. We should have gone at least 200 yards. Mark was embarrassed that he hadn't been paying more attention to the task at hand. Fortunately, Roman couldn't see him blush. Right. Thanks, he said quietly. He turned toward the clearing, and a minute later they were standing on the edge. They looked both directions, but it was impossible to make out much beyond 150 yards or so. Mark saw some flashes from the direction they had come, and a split second later he heard the shots. Do we dash across together or separately? Roman asked. Neither, Mark answered. I don't want to take any chances. We'll belly crawl. I'll go first. When I'm across, then you come. Okay. Mark hit the dirt and started crawling. It was about 50 yards to the other side, but from the ground it looked like a mile. The chest rig Abby had made worked wonderfully as long as he was upright. When he tried to crawl on his stomach, the corners of the magazines dug into his chest and stomach. He raised himself up onto his elbows to take the weight off of his torso and crawled halfway across. His unprotected elbows couldn't take any more, and he rose up a little more and put his weight on his hands. He scampered the rest of the way and then turned to watch Roman. The young man seemed to make it in half the time Mark had, and he stayed down on his stomach the whole way. Bet you couldn't do that with all these mags stabbing you, Mark thought.